Alright, hey, shalom, akim, shalom. First and foremost, as always, before we get started, giving all praise, honor, and glory unto our power, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Ruach HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, the elders of Great Millstone that have taught us His truth and that rule well. And peace and blessings go out to the hopeful members of the elect, scattered throughout the four winds of the earth, that are in the hopes of receiving salvation or mercy during the time of Jacob's trouble, and that are worshiping the Heavenly Father in sincerity, in spirit, and in truth. Alright. Now in this lesson, I want to bring out some information that I stumbled upon, not only through social media, but through other, articles and, old pieces of information that came out last year pertaining to the idea of how Esau wants Mexico. Alright, as you see this whole cartel shenanigan where this dude, El Mencho, alright, was apparently killed and was ratted out by his, by an OnlyFans girl, alright. A lot of moves are being made by America through enforcing the military to fight off the cartel, and them also holding the president of Mexico in their arms so that she's protected from the chaos that Northern Kingdom is ensuing. Alright, now for those that are in the know, we see right through all this deception, man. Alright, as we understand, through information that's came out in the past, the cartel is nothing more but the fruit of what the CIA created so that the northern tribes can be nothing more but the forerunners of Esau's pharmakia. Alright, his drug method of making cocaine through the coca leaves, alright, which was ultimately done by a CIA scientist going out there in I think it was Puerto Rico and showed Jake how to do it, and through that you've seen nothing more but a whole plethora of Jakes which come in the names of different cartels, alright, doing what they're doing, so this is nothing more but the fruit of what Edomite supremacy does, man. Alright, and as Esau is now using it as an scapegoat / excuse to get up in Mexico and pretty much control it, shows you the set diabolical spirit of Esau, man. Alright, so with that being said, Lord willing, this is an edifying lesson for you brothers and sisters. The first thing that I want to go ahead and do is actually play this quick clip, alright, that shows you the idea of what Esau has been planning, alright, for quite some time. Alright, now I think the video actually plays the date, but this was roughly around the springtime of last year. Alright, it says President-elect Trump just announced he plans to change the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Alright, so let's listen to what he got to say.
The Gulf of America, which has a beautiful ring that covers a lot of territory. The Gulf of America, what a beautiful name. And it's appropriate. It's appropriate. And we're...
So yeah, there you go. It pretty much explains itself, man. But within this whole, charade of what Esau's painting, it illustrates the idea of how Esau is nothing more but the same person that we constantly bring out about, of him being the wicked. Alright? The wicked that fulfills many prophecies, not only within the New Testament, alright, but also within the Old Testament, like Micah 2:1. Just one quick second out here. Damn, light just went out. Salakia. But this is Micah 2:1, and we're gonna get it in the NLT. It says, "What sorrow awaits you who lie awake at night, thinking up evil plans." All right, and a good example of this is Venezuela. All right, when you go to the day of when this dude Esau, took took Maduro into their captivity, pretty much. He did it at night, man. All right, where nobody's gonna expect anything. And what do the scriptures illustrate Esau being? A thief in the night. Okay. So it says, you rise at dawn and hurry to carry them out, simply because you have the power to do so. All right, which gives us the set precept in Job 19:24, where it says that the earth has been given into the hand of the wicked. All right, what does the wicked do? Things like what we see happening in Mexico right now, man. And it ain't no coincidence that the president of Mexico is a little hat, Sheinbaum. All right, that isn't a Hispanic or Aztec name that goes back to relate and what do you call it? Compare to the set heritage of Mexicans. Even when you go to the early talking points of what that president had said, speaking about Sheinbaum, all right, when she was being elected for that, seat of authority of being a president, she had said that she wants to integrate Mexico into a pretty much smart city. Matter of fact, let's look it up real quick, just so we not, just so we can get the facts straight, as Apostle Gabar be saying. Let's get this one right here. It says Mexico plans to build Latin America's most powerful supercomputer. All right. So what do you think this supercomputer is going to be all about? Okay. It says Mexico unveils plans Wednesday, and this goes back to November of 2025, to build what it claims will be Latin America's most powerful supercomputer. A project the government says will help the country capitalize on the rapidly evolving uses of AI and exponentially expand the country's computing capacity. All right. And within this, disaster that's happening within Mexico, which right now, those, you Mexicans that are living in Mexico, you're catching complete hell. I don't know where the cartel just comes through, busting on y'all. Throwing gas on you, lighting you on fire. This is all the bidding of the devil, man. All right? But this is to show that a change is going to happen within that country. All right? And it's going to be a change that caters to the benefit of fattening up Esau's pockets. All right? Because what is Mexico known for having? Well, let's get it real quick. It says, I simply asked Google, what rich resources does Mexico have? And it says Mexico possesses immense natural wealth, ranking as the world's top silver producer. All right? And a major global supplier of copper, gold, lead, and zinc. It is a top 10 oil producer with significant petroleum and natural gas reserves. Additionally, Mexico has rich agricultural land, diverse forestry products, and abundant marine resources, including tuna and shrimp. All right? But that shows you the set foreground of what Esau is doing when it comes to him getting his ass over there in Mexico. And that's to do what he's always done, man. All right, John 10:10. Let's get that real quick. It says, "The thief cometh not but for to steal, to kill, and to destroy." All right, I am come that they might have life, that they might have it more abundantly. All right, but the point being is within that first little sentence of the verse, where Yahushua is pretty much explaining the mindset of Esau. All right, of him stealing, killing, and destroying. All right. So let's go back here in Micah 2:2 before we get into that article. You know what? That's pretty much the point though that I wanted in it. It pretty much sums up the idea of what Sheinbaum's mindset is, all right, of creating AI, smart cities, Let's see that's pretty much the point. So let's get this in Micah 2:2. In the NLT. It says, when you want a piece of land, you find a way to seize it. And is this not what we see America doing to Mexico? Here it is, the cartel has been a problem for decades. All of a sudden, and shit, the cartel works for America. But the point being is that all of a sudden now they're a problem. It says, when you want someone's house, you take it by fraud and violence. You cheat a man of his property, stealing his family's inheritance. Alright? So this is ultimately this idea of what's getting ready to happen out there in Mexico, man. You know, those ancient cultures that you have of the Aztecs, the Mayans, your Guadalupe, your sweet baby JC. Alright? All that is getting ready to be taken down by Esau, man. Along with you wicked ass northern tribes that worship the God of the dead. You know? You're about to fuck around and find out and see what exactly the northern tribes that live in America suffer every single day of them being in this country, man. This same vibration that's out here in Babylon the Great is going to spread into Mexico. Alright? And you can bet your bottom dollar on it, man. Okay? A lot of you goddamn Mexicans are going to suffer a lot. Alright? A lot of you think that Esau coming through is going to be something beneficial, but no. It's far from it. Alright? He's going to do nothing more but integrate you within this new world order. You know? Where you're going to sell yourself to him for a couple shekels. For a green card. For a fucking citizenship. Alright? Salaki, man. Jake went on a little rant, but, you know, Salaki, Lord willing, some sort of edification came out of it. So real quick, I wanted to get this. Matter of fact, we just played it. I think this is a different video though, off of TikTok.
Mexico is saying that
yeah, let's hear this one.
Send U.S. troops into Mexico to take care of the cartel. She wants to know, is that true? Do you think I'm going to answer that question?
That's why I'm asking. We'll see.
I will answer it. It's true. If Mexico wanted help with the cartels, we would be honored to go in and do it. I told her that. I would be honored to go in and do it. The cartels are trying to destroy our country.
And this dated back.
She's so afraid of the cartel she can't walk. So you know that's the reason.
I think back in May,
she's a lovely
if
woman.
I'm not mistaken.
But the president of Mexico.
Of last year,
a
of
lovely
course.
woman. But she is so afraid of the cartels that she can't even think straight. Mexico is saying that I offered to send U.S. troops into Mexico
May 4th,
to take care of the
2025.
cartel. She wants to know,
So
is
this
that
has been
true?
in the making, man.
Do you think I'm going to
Right? Esau's just getting ready to act on it because he sees that he has but a short time. You know? And that these other nations are gathering up and they probably invited Mexico to the party. You know? So America didn't want none of that happening. Now real quick, I wanted to get this dude's opinion off of TikTok concerning his little 2 cents on the whole cartel idea.
By now everyone,
because he makes a good couple of points. And we're also going to go through the comment section because it shows the mindset of your average day American's thoughts within this whole scheme, man. You know, your average American can clearly agree that this is nothing more but another, excuse that the devil is making so that he can take something that he wants. Okay?
knows that the Mexican government carried out an operation today that killed the leader of the biggest cartel in the world. Nemesio Cervantes, or better known as El Mencho, the leader of Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación, was killed today during an operation. Now, this has reintroduced the conversation of the U.S. having to intervene in Mexico because the cartels did not respond well. They set various vehicles on fire. There were a lot of reports of gas stations being blown up, and the message that was sent by the cartel to the Mexican citizens telling them to stay inside because even if they were innocent and they weren't related to the cartels, they would be killed. Now, I want to offer a perspective because a lot of people are pointing the finger at the Mexican government, and that's a conversation that we can have another time. But I want to remind everybody how the cartels got so powerful and why it's been so hard for the Mexican government to take them down. Now, all last year, we heard Trump say that the U.S. needed to go in.
Yeah, and Slovakia, there was this one dude that went on the Sean Ryan show, and he had said that the cartel, going back 5 years ago, made $500 million a year, if I'm not mistaken. But now, within this year's statistic, the cartel made back in 2025 a whopping 13 billion. All right. Why do you think so? Because America is the one that funds and aids the cartel's industry, man. They're the ones that buy the drugs and have Jake be the face of the one that brings it to the border. Okay?
And basically eradicate the cartel, that they needed to go in and send soldiers or do aerial strikes to make sure that the cartels weren't driving drugs into the country. Now, Presidenta Claudia Sheinbaum has reiterated on several occasions that she's willing to receive the U.S. help, but in a way that doesn't violate their sovereignty. That is, we don't want boots on the ground in Mexico. We'll take your help through intel and other ways, but you will not be stepping foot into Mexico. Now, one thing that La Presidenta Claudia...
And that's the damn line. We just brought out the information pertaining to a conversation that Trump had with her, that she wants them troops over here. All right?
has said that she wants the U.S. to do is to finally address its consumption problem. See, Trump has taken to Truth Social several times to say that the cartels are bad for the U.S., but at no point has anyone in his administration or himself admitted that the U.S. has a consumption problem or have done anything to really address it. The other thing that she's brought up is how a lot of the cartels get their weapons from U.S. manufacturers, and how the U.S. is also not doing anything about that. Just this February, the New York Times came out with a report that found that a lot of the ammunition, specifically 50 caliber ammo, was manufactured here in the U.S. by a manufacturer that also gave ammunition to the U.S. military. Now, this ammunition is sold in the civilian market, but through straw purchases has made its way into the hands of the Mexican cartels. There was also a report a couple years ago that pointed to a U.S. military base, Fort Bragg, and deemed it Fort Bragg cartel, because apparently a lot of the special forces units that were there were actually in cahoots with the Mexican cartel. Now, this isn't new. See, if you remember the Zetas, which were a very dangerous cartel that in their time, and they still exist right now, they're just not as powerful as before, they've splintered, but in their time, they used to post execution videos all through the dark web and the regular internet, and they were one of the most vicious cartels in that time. Now, they were trained by U.S. military special forces, the Green Berets, and after they received that training, they became the cartel. They were originally a special task unit from the Mexican military, but they...
Yeah, like I said, he makes a lot of good points. He brings out the receipts concerning how America has been the main driver of, putting the cartel in terms of their power, and, is acting like they've never done anything for them. Alright? Now, when you go into the comments, everybody agrees. The first comment says, the biggest cartel in the world is the United States government. Alright? The U.S. will do anything but hold the men in the Epstein files accountable. So you see the spirit of what people are feeling, man. They're irritated, they're mad at the rationale of America, and they want justice. Alright? Yep, the U.S. always has their noses on everything but their own people. Facts. The biggest cartel is the DEA, the drug, what does that stand for again? The Drug Enforcement Administration? Let's look that up real quick. Salaki. Yep, Drug Enforcement Administration. It says the cartel is not a gang, the cartel is a network. That is what people are not understanding. The cartel is in Latin America, the US, Middle East, and Europe. The cartels are international businesses, men, women, politicians, etc. We will never be able to eradicate the cartel. And who do you think is in control of the cartel? Who's funding them? Who's paying them? Alright, you know the answer. And that's pretty much the point, man. Alright, I think that was pretty much all the information that I had. Yeah, I did have one more precept. This is Sirach 10 and 8. Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, okay, which is what America's doing, getting all those riches and, natural goods from Mexico through deceit. the kingdom is translated from one people unto another. Alright? And that's exactly what we see happening, man. You know, again, with all the little nuggets of information that Esau has put out there for us to grab, alright, that's preluding to what he's going to do, we understand how the devil gets down, man. Alright, so this is nothing more but just us exposing Esau. You know, I was talking to my pops, you know, Issachar, that's deep within the news of, you know, Mexico and whatnot. And they don't even know what's happening, man. You know, all they can do is talk shit about, you know, El Mencho, how he's this bad guy, this and the third, but they really lack understanding, man. Alright, and as Hosea 4:6 tells us, matter of fact, let's get that real quick. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Alright? Like I said, a lot of you people think that just because, you know, the white man's coming over there, things are going to get nice and pretty. You know, Mexico's going to get a renovation, it's going to be cleaned, swept. But along that process, alright, you people are going to be enslaved into Esau's system. Alright? Your culture and all those things that you idolize. Oh yeah, Esau's getting ready to take down all of that. And he's going to put himself as being the new God that you reverence, man. Alright? It says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy power, I will also forget thy children. Alright? So yeah, man, with that was pretty much all I had. Just a quick, you know, little lesson, giving my 2 cents concerning this news that's coming out. Lord willing, you brothers and sisters are edified, man, as always. Kol halal Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Ruach HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings unto the elect. Shalom.